Hi, my name is Matthew, and I'm making this video because last year I did something everyone does. I drove. Sounds kind of mundane, pretty average. Unfortunately, it resulted in a loss of someone's life. Now, right off the top of your head, you're thinking that I'm making a video to explain how I messed up, what drugs I took, what alcohol I drank, how much I drank, what speed I was going. I had no drugs in my system. I had no alcohol in my system. I had no distractions, no music playing, no phone use. I was merely taking my partner's son to his grandfather's house. A 10-minute trip. We hear constantly about how accidents happen within 5 miles, 10 miles of your home, because that's when you get the most relaxed and that's when accidents happen. So it does fit within that category of happening within 10, 15, 5 miles of the house, because it's only a 10-minute trip. I was driving down the road up to an intersection I've driven to multiple times using her car. It was a bright sunny day. While I was driving up to that intersection, I saw that my traffic lights were red, and unfortunately the bright sunny day was my problem. When I got to the intersection, I stopped before the crosswalk like I'm supposed to. Had my blinker on more than 100 feet before I got there, so that other people knew which direction I was going. And I came to a complete halt. I had to learn the hard way on that one, because during my first few years of driving, I did the same thing as a truck in front of me. Came up to an intersection. We saw that traffic was coming across us, so the traffic in front of me was stopped. The traffic to the left of me was stopped. And I could see if anyone who's crossing decides to do a U-turn. So I assumed, probably the same as the guy in front of me, just slow down, take that turn. That was wrong. That was a traffic violation. Red lights mean stop. Come to a full halt. We went in a 45 mile per hour area from 45 down to about 15, 10, and took our right hand turn as we saw the road was clear for us to do that. But the camera got us. And when I went to the court hearing for running a red light, that's when I learned that I messed up. Luckily, I learned from that. So in my instance, I did come to a complete halt to take my right-hand turn. Mostly because this intersection is usually full of people who like to speed. Heavy-duty vehicles coming by for the businesses, or a city bus is parked right there at the corner, obstructing view to the left. So I did as you're supposed to. You look left, you look right. And as I've learned from another incident, in the time it takes you to look from left to right, a lot of things can happen to your left. So I looked left again. I deemed it safe, and I decided to touch the gas pedal to start moving forward. And as I got into the crosswalk, what I didn't realize was that bright sunlight shining through the trees had blinded me to any person trying to cross the road. As I said before, I could see my traffic light coming up to it, but when I was parked at the intersection, I could not see my traffic light. I could not see the crosswalk lights. I could not see any people on the opposite side of the street from me. And as I took my right-hand turn, the shade of the trees and the sunlight shifted. And as soon as the sunlight was off the windshield, I wound up, I guess the best term I could use is colliding with a bicyclist. I wasn't running him over. I wound up locking his leg between his bicycle and the front bumper. And in the few seconds it took for me to go back to a full halt, he stayed upright. However, when I came to a full halt, he had lost his balance, fell over, and hit his head on the ground so hard that there was blood on the ground. Not a massive amount, but a fair amount, like you sliced open your finger. I immediately slammed the car back into park. Sorry for the verbiage of slam, I mean the gear shifter. Hopped out and called 911. Other people had started to gather and traffic tried to reroute itself out of the area. Before I even finished the call with emergency responders, the police had shown up. It was all taken care of within a very short period of time. But in that short period of time, it was a major blow to my mental state. No drugs, no alcohol, no speed, no distractions, just a nice simple drive. Think I'm doing everything right. And yet something like this still happened. A couple weeks after the incident, I was informed by the insurance that the bicyclist that I had knocked over had died due to brain swelling. I will honestly never forget it. I will always be haunted by regrets of, oh, I should have drank a glass of water. I should have used the toilet. I should have pet my dog one more time. Literally anything I could have done to leave 5-10 seconds later, or just not leave at all, would have prevented the loss of life. What makes this even worse is it's not just me who's going to remember this for the rest of my life. Remember, I was taking my partner's, at the time, 10-year-old son to his grandfather's. So all I can say is the next time you want to speed, get high, get shit-faced, pull stupid stunts like popping wheelies or swerving recklessly in between cars, was it really worth it? Not just the jail time, not just the cost, not just the repairs you have to make to your vehicle every time you redline the engine or anytime you slam on the brakes because you decide to go 100 miles an hour. But in that one moment that you think nothing will go wrong because you're thinking you did everything right, it'll all come back to haunt you. There's nothing you can do to stop karma. Yes, as I admit, I've had a few minor traffic violations that resulted in no one getting hurt. I went the flow of traffic when everyone else was going fast, so I went fast. I've gotten a speeding ticket before because I was an idiotic adolescent. There's also several factors to this that nobody bothered teaching me when I first started to drive. The amount of force in a collision of going 50 miles an hour compared to 55 doesn't sound like that much. But that sound changes when you go from a simple fender bender and your airbag's deploy and you get popped by a balloon full of sand, and the sound of you playing Doctor Strange in his car accident scene as his dashboard wraps around his hands. He was completely distracted, reckless in that scene, and I think the movie was well portrayed as to what happens when you decide that nothing can go wrong for you and you can do whatever you want without any repercussions. Because no matter what, when one person speeds, something's bound to happen. It may not be now, may not be tomorrow, but eventually it might just catch up to you, and usually it'll sneak up on you. So hopefully you listen to this video, and before you decide to speed next time, before you decide to take that hit, before you decide to party it up and pull your keys out and hop in your car, you have that one little Jiminy Cricket just whispering in your ear. Don't do it. In regards to your speed, the speed limits are there for a reason. If you just break it down into math, miles per hour, kilometers per hour, wherever you live. If you go 60 miles at 60 miles per hour, it'll take you 1 hour. Most days you don't drive 60 miles an hour for 60 miles. Usually you wind up 5-10 minute trips, most of the time in 35 mile per hour areas, 25 mile per hour areas. Can you imagine the damage to the community if you decided to go speeding through a school zone as school's beginning or ending, and it's your first car, it's your first week of driving, and you decide to joyride through it and not care about anything, and you didn't learn anything about your car either. If you don't know how tight your lug nuts are supposed to be, you have no guarantee they're tight. that tire falls off, what's stopping you from, well, intimately becoming part of the school structure? There's nothing that'll stop you. Bricks will give way, metal will bend, but an object in motion stays in motion until an opposite force acts upon it. And if that force is not equal or greater, it will give way. Distracted driving is, in my opinion, just as bad as drunk driving or driving while high. If you're high, how do you know that child on the road is even real? How do you know that leaf's not a child? You're hallucinating, probably. You can suddenly have spiders crawling all over you and you have arachnophobia. Now you have someone on the interstate going 80 miles an hour and freaking out and losing control of their vehicle. You have someone in the same scenario in a 35 mile per hour area. There are so many things wrongs with the average driver. The list goes endlessly, and there's really nothing one person can do to stop it. It takes a community, as I learned. I started reading up on traffic safety. I learned about the Traffic Safety Commission in my partner's area. I learned that ODOT, Oregon Department of Transportation, has plans in place for upgrading equipment, changing road structures. You probably noticed it already. Those bicycle lanes that are marked green and come up to a flagged area at the front of the intersection, that is so bicyclists can be ahead of everyone who likes to take right-hand turns without looking in their side view mirror to see if there's a bicyclist coming up. Because there's a lot of bicyclists who get hit for that one reason only. And even after learning about that, it's still quite scary how often I don't look and realize right as I'm doing my turn, it's like, oh crap, is there a bicyclist? I don't know. At least I don't know until it's too late, because I took that turn without looking. Alcohol, it's just as bad as drugs. It blurs your vision, it slows your reaction time, and you can simply see it just by drinking your regular amount, recording your own voice, and then when you sober up, record your voice saying those exact words and hit play on both and see the difference. There's several little games you can play to laugh at yourself, laugh at your friends when you're drunk, but when you're sober and looking at you most of the time think you're an idiot. I thought I was an idiot all the times I got intoxicated. And honestly, cell phones and other electronic devices, they're just as bad as the first two. Your eyes are seeing things that aren't there, or aren't seeing things that are there. Due to the drugs, you fall asleep behind the wheel because the alcohol has made you so drowsy and sleepy you can't keep your eyes open. Or even if it's nothing illegal in your system, just a hazardous amount of lack of sleep. And your body says, I don't care what you want, you're going to sleep. You think, oh, look down. Oh God! Too late. I've been through so many random things throughout my life. I never thought that something as simple as taking a right-hand turn from a stop would be what leads to someone, in short, being dead because of me. And there's going to be mental scarring for my partner's son that I don't know how it's going to affect him as he grows up. I've definitely learned quite a bit because of this. I'm still learning more. I'm reading the ORSs on all these different things. I'm constantly getting headaches reading through all of them because one links into the other and then back and forth. But there's so much info there that I didn't even know existed. There's so much that isn't taught that really should be. But back to the point is distracted driving is so stupid. You have Bluetooth nowadays. Plug your headphones in, set your phone to the Bluetooth of the car. You need your phone for a map. Set your map before you drive. Pull over. And going 60 miles an hour in a 35 is not worth the risk. All it does is endanger you, endangers your family, endangers your friends, endangers everyone around you. There's really no need to speed either. All it does is waste your gas, waste your brakes, waste your gasket. Because it puts more strain on your engine than is needed. The only engine that needs to be strained like that would be a NASCAR driver, and if you want to race that bad, go to a racetrack. That's what they're there for. That's 60 miles an hour in a 55. That saves you a few seconds. Adding on that, anything in your body, drugs or alcohol wise, it lowers your reaction time, lowers your vision again, and then add that on to looking down at a cell phone. You think it's only a second. Well, that second can last anywhere from less than a second to long enough to ride right off the road through the guardrail. Distracted driving is so bad, I actually learned at the Nurses Talk Tough at one of the hospitals in Portland that it is actually illegal for any driver who's 18 or under to use Bluetooth devices. It literally is a law that anyone 18 and under is not allowed to use Bluetooth headphones, Bluetooth watch, Bluetooth on the car, mainly for its distractive properties. I also learned at Nurses Talk Tough that it is a violation to have your mobile device anywhere other than put away in a pocket, glove box, armrest, the trunk, or on a mounted device to allow anyone over the age of 18 at most a press or a swipe. so that the function of the hands-free is available. That's at least as I understood it to the best of my ability. The verbiage on it literally does say in the law, one swipe, one touch. How many touches does it take to text? How many touches does it take to punch in a phone number? How many swipes to find a certain text that you're looking through all your text logs? Trying to find a phone number you can't remember when you called it. These are all things that can wait until you're parked, which is where the law states. Phone use is only okay if you're off the road, out of the way of traffic, pulled into a parking lot, pulled into a driveway, hopefully yours, but off the road. I can only think how much worse it would have been for me, for the child that was with me. I mean, it already had to be the worst for the bicyclist. He's not alive anymore. But how much worse it would have been if I was drinking, if I was high, if I was on my phone, if I was messing around with the stereo or something else in the car. And I hit that bicyclist and freaked out like I did, but unable to actually maintain control. I could only imagine it would have been so much worse. And although it sounds bad, that I'm glad it happened the way it did, because I was sober. I was in control. I wasn't distracted. And there's even so many other things that aren't taught until it's a problem, like the basic upkeep of your car. There are wildfires caused because people don't know how to check their brakes. What's that squeal noise? What's grinding? It only happens when I touch my brakes. Oh, the whole car vibrates. That's nothing. It's nothing until you can't stop. Especially it's nothing if you can't stop and you're speeding and distracted and on something. It's nothing, right? If your vehicle is making some new noise or shaking, something is wrong. And if your relatives never taught you how to work on a car, then take it to an automotive shop. Heck, you can take it to a Jiffy Lube and let them know you found something. They'll take a look. Would you rather pay some money to have it inspected, or pay a lot of money to make reparations for what you caused because you shrugged it off? Which is actually something that plays into my incident. I do the basic maintenance on my partner's car. I didn't know anything about cars growing up. My dad tried to teach me. I had no mental awareness for it. I didn't care. It wasn't shiny enough for me. It wasn't cool enough. But luckily, I decided for college to do automotive technologies. And it was essentially a 2-year crash course of everything to do with cars. Except for diesel engines. That was a completely different course. But I went through there, and there's so many simple fixes to all the problems that happen with cars. And long story short, I do her brakes. I make sure they're good. I make sure those lug nuts are tight. When I worked in the automotive during and a little bit after my college course, it was regular to have your customers return within 50 miles of travel when you've put a tire back on, even if you didn't rotate them. If you took the tire off and put it back on, you requested your customer to come back to retighten the lugs, because as the vehicle drives on the tires, the weight will shift, and the tire may pop a thread over, and all of a sudden that lug nut has no torque on it. But so long as the technician knows what they're doing, putting it on a star or cross pattern, the lug nut doesn't just fall off or fly off. And all it is a simple, and it's back to full torque. Metal on metal grinding from the brakes alone causing wildfires because people don't check them, don't replace them. It's the sparks that fly and hit the dry grass in the summers. And that's a fine and a fee I never want to pay, so I want to make sure I can always stop. I want to make sure my family is always safe, so I check the brakes when I can. I lube them to make sure that they're working properly, because if they're not lubricated, the caliper doesn't slide, the pads don't make contact with the rotor or the shoes in the drum, whichever your system is, and you don't stop till you hit something really hard, or something hits you because you got in their way. There are actually legal checklists that you have to perform every day. You're supposed to check your lights to make sure they're all working before you drive. I didn't know that until just a few years ago. I mean, I knew my lights were always working because I hate not being able to see in the dark. There's a few times where a light didn't work on one side of my car and people were not kind to me trying to change lanes, and I found out after the fact, like just that day after I was driving for a little bit, oh, I'm the asshole. Light bulbs are easy. Some cars that are a pain in the butt to get to, but they're easy to replace. But the brakes, they take a little bit of know-how. Once you have the know-how, they become really easy, really simple. And if I hadn't checked her brakes, if I didn't make sure they were working properly, it would have been a lot worse of an accident. You know, you can think, oh, he's dead, how can it be worse? I knocked him over, coming to a complete halt before he hit the ground. I didn't mean to cause him any pain. He had a bit of pain. That comparison to if my brakes, or if my partner's brakes didn't work, if I didn't stop. And then thinking about that, how much worse it would have been for the child if I did a hit and run, whether on purpose or unintentionally, because I couldn't stop. There are so many factors that not one single video can cover it all in a day. And all this because the sun was in my eyes. You can best believe I have been irritating a good number of people in the last year alone with, no matter what, going the speed limit. I don't care how fast you're going, I'm going the speed limit. There are factors that you gotta think about that nobody thinks about in the event of an accident. Your airbag is meant to deploy to protect you from violently meeting your face to the steering wheel, dashboard, whatever flies through your windshield is meant to hold you fixed in place safely. But it only holds your body to the chair. An object in motion stays in motion. Your innards are still flying at whatever speed you were going when you abruptly went to 0. Your brain is hitting the inside of your skull. Your organs are hitting the inside of your ribs. Your guts are being pulled outward with your belly and straining against the sternum and the pelvic bone areas. Have you ever wondered what the actual maximum threshold of speed and force of impact an airbag is designed to hold on to is? Because they're only meant to be inflated for a few seconds and then they start to deflate. That's going to be something I cover in the next video. Protect yourself from legal things you don't want to deal with. Protect your family from the dangers of everyone else's everyday mistakes. Because of my one mistake of going because I thought it was safe, I didn't know it was safe. I didn't know someone had a crosswalk light on. I didn't know if my light was still red or if it was green. My mistake is I guessed it was safe. And now there's someone out there who lost his brother because of my one choice. Stay sober, go the speed limit. Better late than never is a very applicable phrase for driving. I hope you have a safe rest of your day.